Okay. My name is Sarah Putman, and I'm currently a missionary for Hyde Park, serving in Cluj-Napoca, Romania. You might recognize me from my 5 years on staff here. I was the liaison for the OTRCC campus and also the ministry assistant for missions, helping to kind of flow ministry in the city and around the world. And my focus in Romania is mental, emotional, and identity health for the orphans, primarily those aging out of the orphan system. So officially, Hyde Park got connected when we sent a team of people for a vision trip in 2017. And so there was a team of, I think, 7 or 8 of us who went to sort of meet up with the people in Cluj and discern whether or not God was calling us into partnership with the 3 United Methodist churches there. Unofficially, we got connected with Romania through me. And so before I even came on staff, I knew that God was calling me to Romania in a long-term capacity, but wasn't really sure what that looked like. And actually, Hyde Park became the stepping stone for me to find the specific calling that God had for me, placement God had for me, and then opened the doors for us to explore whether or not God was also calling us as a church body to partner with the churches there, as well as have them kind of come when they're available to do things here. So sort of a both and, officially in 2017 through a team from Hyde Park. Unofficially, I started that ball. So the partnership that we currently have is a 5-year commitment between primarily one of the 3 churches in Romania. So there are 3 locations, one in Cluj-Napoca, which is our partnership church, one in the villages outside of Cluj, which we do some work with as well, and then one in Sibiu, which is a city about 3 hours away. And while we've been there, we did not feel that was the partnership God was leading us to. So we are focusing more on the church in Cluj, and the partnership includes relationship partnership. So we send teams, in theory, every other year to Romania to do whatever it is, like partnership alongside whatever ministry they have going on at that time. So we've done some work with Women's Retreat. We've done some work with the orphans in and around the city. We're hopeful that, depending on COVID, next year we'll be able to go and help run the camp that they do every summer. And then there's also a financial portion commitment to the partnership. And so that's helping to provide salaries for some of the staff people and then provide some of the funding needed for month in, month out rental space, lights, ministry, things that happen through the church in Cluj, predominantly with the orphans in the surrounding area. And then their commitment to us is continued prayer and relational upkeep, which somehow has happened through me now, but that's okay. And then when Pastor Radish is in the States, at least every other time he's here, he tries to come to Hyde Park. So he was here in 2018 and preached 3 services and then wasn't able to make it here last year, but hopefully his next trip we'll have him here again. I would say that the impact, there are multiple levels of the impact that the partnership has on the churches in Romania and the people in Romania as well. I would say that predominantly the biggest one is affirmation of our calling. So to have people really come behind us in Romania and support the vision that we have for ministering to the orphans, as well as bridging the gap between those who grew up in the Orthodox setting but are looking for something a little more life-giving. The Methodist Church helps to bridge that, and so to have partnerships from Hyde Park really just affirms that calling and the direction we're going in Romania is what God is calling us as a global church. It is something he's doing, and he's moving us forward in that. And so I think one of the things that's a benefit for us in Romania is is that affirmation. And then secondly, there are obviously practical things, having additional human resources show up every couple of years, just excited to learn and experience culture in Romania. It gives Romanians a sense of pride to be able to explain who they are, who their culture is, what it is they're doing, to Americans who take interest and really, seek to know and understand better what's going on. It also, allows us to continue relationships and know that we have a landing spot when, like Pastor Reddish comes to the States. There are places for him to visit and to feel at home and have those relationships. And then obviously another practical benefit for us is financial giftings allow us to do the ministry that we're doing. So the yearly contributions and commitments that Hyde Park gives allows for most of our ministry operations. It covers the entire salary for one of the staff people at the nonprofit Alpha Group who works with the orphans who otherwise would not be able to fill his role because there just isn't funding for him. And it also helps provide some sustainable additional funding for other key staff people. And then with alternative giving, the last 2 Christmases here at Hyde Park, the offering has been given to raise money for the camp that we run in Romania every summer that there isn't COVID, to get the kids out of the city, the orphans who spend so much time in their homes and with the same people. It gives them space to really get out and to be together with their church family, but also to have fun and do some team building activities and Bible lessons and spiritual growth kinds of things that don't necessarily happen for all of them year round. So that gives us the ability to put on some of the larger ministry projects that we have, just to be able to actually see them to fruition. Ministry this last year in Cluj has been interesting, but in a good way. So I would say highlights for me in my first year as a missionary there included really just getting to build relationships with people who I'd known from previous trips, but wasn't really able to connect with on the same kind of level. In particular, the 3 girls that I lived with. So last year I was working with a project called Raza, who seeks to help build practical and relational skills among the young adults as they age out of the orphan system. And so what we have found is that as they're given their stipend from the government as they leave, they developmentally appropriately just blow it on stupid stuff and don't have the skills then to know how to connect with other people, how to hold a job, how to pay bills, just things they've never had to do or been taught to do. And so the cycle usually leads them into begging, poverty, homelessness, prostitution, trafficking, or suicide. And so we're really, with the Raza project, we're seeking to help take about a year of time to really instill some of these skills for them so that they can be independent. And so for me, to walk alongside the 3 girls who were living in the apartment with me and just sort of day in, day out, see them set goals for finding a job, holding a job, starting school, continuing in school and dreaming towards what their future might look like, as well as just kind of talking about the day in and day out kinds of things in either Romanian or English was really huge for me. One of the girls, I think this is probably my favorite ministry highlight from this year. Her name is Dada, and she approached me at the end of last year and said, "Hey, can we talk about baptism?" And I said, "If you want to use Google Translate, we sure can, because I don't know any of those words." And so we sat down and just sort of, she had some questions. She'd been baptized in the Orthodox Church as an infant and just wasn't really sure where the Methodist Church stood on could she be rebaptized, did she need to do something different, and what did that even mean. So we talked through kind of my experience with baptism, my understanding of baptism in the United Methodist Church, and then I encouraged her to go speak with Pastor Radish, which she did. And then the three of us started baptism classes at the beginning of this year, just sort of giving her a chance to kind of explore some of her questions, because she's at a Baptist high school and has a very vocal Pentecostal friend, and so it was just kind of sorting through where do her beliefs lie, and was this something that she wanted to do, to publicly confess Jesus as Lord. And she did, and she was going to be baptized on Easter, but that didn't happen. So she actually was baptized 2 weeks ago in the village church outside on a pretty sunny day. So for me, I think that was kind of the highlight of my ministry, as well as being able to start speaking and understanding some Romanian, to be able to have even short, stupid conversations about cats and things like that with other people has been encouraging to me, because long term I know I need to be pretty fluent before I can tackle any of my kind of ministry goals. And then for the church, I would say that some of the things that we were able to really invest in was Alpha Group, the nonprofit that works with the orphans. And even though COVID got in the way, it gave us a chance to really step back and sort of re-spend our energy in planning what we want to do in the coming days and months and years. And it also gave us a chance to be creative. So, cooking classes via Zoom, dance classes via Zoom, things that we aren't able to offer when we don't have as much time as we did this year. So it was cool for me to watch, even from the States, as they, like all of us have, made the best of a difficult situation. And so I think some of the plans for the ministries that the church in Cluj wants to be able to do and to grow and to see were put on hold, but we're able to be given some more focus and energy as we kind of launch into what things look like when it's safe to be together again. As individuals, I would say there's lots of creative options and opportunities for people to get involved. So if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, I would be more than happy to have a conversation with you and kind of seek out your gifts, your talents. Are you a prayer warrior? Oh, we got lists of prayers for you. Do you have financial offerings that you're wanting to make to a specific project or a specific person? Let's talk. Are you musical and, artistic, things like, I don't know what the extent of all of your gifts and talents are, but we would love to deepen our partnership with the people here at Hyde Park, not only through teams, but through individual connections as well. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, please reach out to me. Feel free to email me anytime, and we can set up a further conversation to explore what it might look like for you as an individual to partner with us. If you are interested in going to Romania, come on, love to see you there. But seriously, we love, Romania is such a hospitable country, a hospitable people. So that's also something you can expect from a trip there, is that you will be able to meet some really genuine people who have a heart for others and are able to really rise to hospitality levels that I've never experienced anywhere else. The trips to Romania can vary depending on kind of the goal for that particular trip. I know if next year's happens, the goal will be to run a camp. So that would be something that you could expect, is that we'd be in kind of a hotel type rooms, but we'd be multiple people in a room and working to pull off a kids and youth camp in such a way that it's spiritually nurturing and growing for not only children from families, but also children from the orphanage. And so trips to Romania really are about building relationships with children all the way up through staff and adults, and just kind of meeting them where they are and getting to know them, investing in them as people. I would say that Romania is at a place where they're really ready to seek and embrace their identity after 30 years post-communism. They're really ready for what's next and who am I and what can I do. And so really getting to know them and helping to pull those things out for them is one of the greatest things that you can do and giftings you can have to come on this kind of trip. You will eat a lot of food on a more regular basis than you would think possible. So hospitality and conversation and relationship building revolves around food in Romania, and it is cooked with love and then just eaten all the time. So that would be something I would expect, as you come, as you will probably eat more than you usually do, and for sure more than you would expect to on a mission trip. But that's just sort of part of the culture. And then I would say, the other thing I would say, just as a cautionary tale, is be flexible, because Romanians are just the most flexible. And so things will change on a dime. And you need to be ready for that, and you need to be okay with that. And just be able to kind of roll with it. There's going to be times when the entire schedule for a day is pushed back, or the entire schedule for a day is rearranged. And that's just the Romanian culture, and it's a growing experience, but a blessing to be able to do. And then the other thing I would say is that frequently people, historically, we'll say that, people have promised that they will come back, and then they don't. And so just as a cautionary, because I was thinking about this earlier today, obviously if you can invest in coming to Romania multiple times, please do, and tell them you'll be back. But if you're not sure that's going to be something you can do, commit to the things that you can commit to. So like, I'll talk to you on Facebook, or we'll be able to pray for each other via the phone or something like that. But just try to keep your promises as realistic as possible. A couple of additional things that I would say about coming to Romania is, one thing to be aware of is that it is not a particularly handicap-friendly culture. There are not elevators and things like that in most places. However, the hospitality of people there is such that, if it's carrying a bag or something like that, like, we will get that done for you. But it's to be aware of that. However, other than that, I would say that our most enthusiastic team member of 2019 was Panji Pope, and she was just all over this, just like a kid, and frequently told us about her position as the oldest member of the team, but you couldn't tell. She was enthusiastic, able to get around everywhere we needed to go, and that is true. So accommodations can be made, and it's not a physically grueling kind of trip, so we're not building a house or anything like that. And even for camp, we're looking for intergenerational kinds of experiences. There will be a role for you on the team, whether that's sitting aside and helping to run the games, or whether it's kind of forming the spiritual deepening kinds of courses, and maybe you'll be working with the adults. Additionally, language is not a barrier or an issue. There's so many translators who are just naturally part of our team, who speak English very well and are willing to step up to serve as a translator as necessary. Hopefully, I will be one of them. We'll see. I can be helpful to some degree for sure. But even if I'm not quite there yet, there are plenty of other people who can fill in that space and that role, and they're very mindful when we have English-speaking people amongst us. So not knowing Romanian is not a problem.